Hello everyone, this is DSA Zindabad. Today we are going to solve the 24th question of virtual DSA sheet, and the question is games of life. So now let's look at the problem statement. According to Wikipedia's article, the game of life, also known as simply as life, is a cellular automation devised by the British mathematician John Horton Conway in 1970. The board is made up of M-cosine grid of cells where each cell has an initial state life represented by 1 or dead represented by 0. Each cell interacts with its 8 neighbor horizontal, vertical, and diagonal using the following 4 rules, which are taken from the Wikipedia article, right? So first rule is any live cell with fewer than 2 live neighbors dies as if caused by underpopulation. Second rule is any live cell which with two or more live neighbors lives on the next generation. Third one is any live cell with more than 3 neighbors dies as if by overpopulation, right? And the fourth rule is any dead cell with exactly 3 live neighbors becomes a live cell as if by reproduction. The next state is created by applying the above rule simultaneously to every cell in the current state, where births and deaths occur simultaneously. Given the current state of the M-cosine grid, board return the next state. So what we need to do, we just need to uh, return the next state, right? Just need to return the next state. So like by studying these 4 rules, what we have two things. One is live cell, which is represented with the help of number 1, and another is dead cell, which is represented with the number 0, right? So now, like by following these rules, what do we exactly mean, right? So now let me just write this thing for you guys. So by this, what we can say, like any live cell, like live is represented with the help of 1, it will live if 2 or 3, right? If it have 2 or 3 neighbors, right? 2 or 3 live neighbors, then it will live, right? And else it will die. Else it will die. Right? So there, as you can see, like by following these 2 rules, any live cell with 2 or 3 live neighbors, which is 2 or 3 live neighbors, lives on to the next generation, right? So this will be live, this will be passed to the next generation. That's why it will be 1, right? So now, otherwise, else it will die, right? Now, uh, also we have like 0 will, like a cell which is 0, it will live if there are 3 or more neighbors. Like if there are more than 3 live neighbors, a live cell with more than 3 neighbors dies as if by overpopulation, right? And any dead cell with exactly 3 live neighbors becomes a live cell, right? This is by reproduction. This will be something like this, else it will die, right? These are the 4 conditions which we need to keep in our mind, right? So by following these rules, these 4 rules, we need to return the next state, right? This will be the next state. We need to return the next state. So now let's look at the example below so that you guys have a better understanding of the problem statement, right? So now here we have any of the cell, let's say. Also one more thing which is given in the question, like a cell is bounded by all of its neighbor. Let's say if we have, let's say this is a, a particular set, right? So it have 4 neighbors, which will be something like this: first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, seventh one, and eighth one, right? So it will have 8 neighbors, right? Right. So like what we need to do, we just need to return the next state by following these 4 rules, right? So now let's look at the example. So since this is a 0, right? For 0, what we need to do, like we just need to check all of its neighbor. Its neighbor is 1, 0, 0. So it will be 0 because what's the condition for the dead cell? This one is the dead cell. This one is the live cell, right? So since this is a dead cell, so what we need to see, we just need to see these 2 conditions. It will live if it contains exactly 3 neighbors. Since it do not contain exactly 3 neighbors, so it will be 0, right? That's why it is 0 over there. So now moving on to 1 over there, we can see like its neighbor are its neighbor are 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, right? So it will also have only one neighbor. So like what is the condition for live cell? The condition is it will live if there are two or three neighbors, right? Otherwise it will die. So as it contains only one neighbor, so this will cell will die. That's why its value is 0 over there, right? So now moving on to this 0, this exactly contains two neighbors. This do not contain like exactly three neighbors. So it will die. That's why it have 0 value over there. So moving on to this 0, right? So it contains around like 1, 2, 3, right? Exactly three neighbors. So what is the condition for that cell? Like for that cell, it will live if it contains exactly three neighbors. So over there we have three neighbors. That's why its value is 1 over there, right? So moving on to 0, like it contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, five neighbors, right? So like what is the condition for that cell? It will die, right? Because it does not contain exactly three neighbors, right? That's why its value is 0 over there. So moving on to 1, it contains exactly 1, 2, 3, only 3, 1, right? So it will live because it contains two or three neighbors, right? That's why its value is 1 over there. So we can iterate over the remaining part of the matrix. So at the end of like after iterating over the matrix, we see that we can found this to be the next state, right? This to be the next state, which will be something like this, right? I hope this problem statement is clear to all of you guys, like how we are iterating, right? So now let's jump into the approach and try to figure out how we can solve this question, right? Now let's jump into the approach. So what we need to do, like, so first of all, let's talk about the brute force approach, right? Brute force approach. So what we'll be doing, so let me just copy the above example below also. So we have this example, right? So like when we talk about the brute force approach, like what comes in our mind, like for a matrix question, we just need to traverse over the matrix by following some condition, right? So similarly, we just don't need to care about like how many loops we are going to use. We just need to traverse over the matrix as many times as by following some condition, right? So like what we need to do, like we'll directly traverse over this matrix entirely. What we'll do, we'll directly calculate the number of neighbors a particular cell have. Like we'll calculate number of neighbors for each cell, right? Like this will be the condition for traversing over a matrix, right? Condition for traversing over the entire matrix, right? So what we'll do, we'll just create a same matrix of m cross n size, right? M cross n size, a temporary matrix, right? In this matrix, we directly store all of this value, like by following all the conditions which are mentioned about, like by following all the four rules to count the number of neighbors for a particular cell, right? So we'll directly traverse over the entire matrix by using, like after filling this temporary matrix, what we can do, like we'll just copy paste this matrix into our original matrix, right? Because like we need to do it, we need to do this thing in the input array, right? That's why we are copying this thing to the initial array, initial matrix. So now let's talk about the time complexity and space complexity for this. Time complexity would be big of m cross n, right? Because we just need to calculate the number of neighbors for each and every cell. So it will require big of m cross n for iterating over the entire matrix, right? So like talking about the space complexity, this will also be equal to big of m cross n since we require a temporary matrix over there, right? That's the reason we just need to like have space complexity of big of m cross n, right? Because we require temporary matrix. So now the question is, can we do this problem in constant space, like by doing this in place, right? So now let's talk about the optimized approach. Optimized approach, right? So here we are. This is our matrix, right? So we just need to follow four rules, right? What are those four rules? Let me just write this thing again. Like for the one, it will live. We found two or three neighbors, right? Else it will die, right? So for the dead cell, what will have? It will live if it contains exactly three numbers, else it will die, right? These are the four rules which we need to keep this thing in our mind, right? Third, and this one is the fourth, right? So like this approach is a little bit tricky. Like we just need to analyze, like since we need to do this thing in a space complexity of big of one, so we kind of like just need to keep a track of like what is the original value and what will be the new value, right? Original value and new value. This one is original value is previously in the matrix. This one is new in the matrix, right? Let's say initially we'll have a combination of 0, 1, 0, 1, right? So like there might be the case when this 0 is will be 0, right? And this might be the case this 0 can be a 1, and there might be the case when this one can be 0. And there might be the case like there is no change in the value of a live cell, right? From this we can see like we have a total of 4 over there, right? Because like when we have 1, there are two possibilities. Either it can have value 1, either it can have value 0. Like, let me just draw this thing for you. 1, it can have 1, it can have 0. For same goes for 0, it can have 1 value, it can have 0 value, right? This is the same thing over there, right? So from this, like we can see like we'll be mapping this thing to something like when we have original value 0 and the new value 0, then we'll denote this with the help of 0 value, right? When we have the original value 1, the original value 1, and it will die, right? So we'll represent this with the help of 1, because like this 1 will represent initially we'll have the original value as 1, right? So now this will represent 2 and this will represent 3. Like 2 will represent like initially we'll have a value original value of 0, and 3 will represent initially we have value as 1. After like converting, this value becomes 1, right? So we'll directly use this concept like 0, 1, 2, 3, like by, so that like we can directly, after like getting all of these values in this matrix, what we can do, we can directly run two for loops with the help of which we can get this entire matrix, right? So let me just do a dry run for you guys so that you guys have a better understanding, right? So now we just need to check, right? Since this 0, we just need to follow these four rules now. Now these four rules are converted to this, right? We just need to replace all of those values with the help of these values, right? I hope this thing is clear to all of you guys. Now let's do a dry run, right? So now initially we have 0, so it will contain only one neighbor. So initially it will have 0 value. So after this, it will be 0. So that's why we represent this as 0, right? So there is no change over there. Similarly for 1, like it contains, like for 1, it contains how many neighbors? Like this one, right? This one. This one will contain only one neighbor, right? So ultimately this value will be 0. So it will be 1 comma 0. So 1 comma 0 represent 1. That's why its value will remain 1. So moving on to 0, it contains only two neighbors. So that's why its value will be 0 comma 0. That's why we represent 0 comma 0 with 0, right? So now moving on to this 0, it contains 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right? How many one it contain? 3 1 it will contain, right? Because it have 3 uh, 1, right? So when it have 3 1, what's the value over there, right? It will have 0 comma 1. So it will be represented with the help of 2. So instead of 0, we'll directly replace this value with the help of 2, right? So what we need to do, we just need to check what will be the original value and what will be the new value for a particular cell. So now, like after checking all of these values, we just need to map all of those values with the help of 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So it will have two value. Since like 0, it will contain like 0 comma 0. That's why its value 0 over there. So now moving on to 1, its value will be something 1. It contains 1, 2, 3, three neighbors, 1, comma 1. So 1, comma 1 is represented with the help of 3, right? So it will be 3, right? So moving on to 1. Now this one contains, now talking about this one contain how many of 1? This is not 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, and 2, right? This contains only 1, 1, right? So when it contains only 1, 1, what will be the case over there? 1, comma 0, it will die. So we'll have 1 over there. That's why its value is 1 over there. So moving on to this one, right? This one, it contains like how many ones? 1, 2. It contains 2, 1. So you can see like how many 1 does it contain? 1, 2, 3. Exactly 3. Like sorry, like it will contain 2, 1, right? This one is the 3 value, so we don't need to consider this. This will contain 1 and 2, 2 number of 1. So when it contain 2 number of 1, it will be a live cell, right? So that's why its value will be 1, comma 1. So 1, comma 1 represent 3. So its value will be 3, right? Moving on to this one, this contains how many number of ones? This contains around like 1, 2, 2 number of ones. Like it contains 3. 3 over there represents the original value as 1, right? So it will contain 2 number of ones, right? That's why its value will also be 3 over there. So moving on to this 0, right? So moving on to this 0, this will be, this contains exactly 3 number of ones. So when it contains 3 number of ones, so this will means this will be a live cell in the new state, right? So this will be 0, 1. 0, 1 represent 2 over there. That's why its value will be 2, right? So now our matrix looks something like this. Let me just erase this thing. This will be 2, this will be 3, this will be 3, this will be 3, and this will be 2. So after this, what we need to do, we just need to run a for loop, run two nested for loops, right? For loop, in which we'll see like what's the value over there. If the value is like, let's say, if the value is 3 or 2, what we need to do, we just need to change the value to be 1. So now, like initially what we are doing, like we'll directly map original value plus initial value to all of these, right? To like 2 or 3. So now what we are doing, we are just going in the backward direction. What do I mean like backward direction? So now we are just directly mapping this backward, like 2 comma 3 will now be pointing to 1. So wherever we have like value 2 or 3, we will directly change all of those values to 1, right? Like this 2 will be 1, this 3 will be 1, this 3, this 3, this will be 1. So now this will be 2, this thing will be 2, that's why its value will be 1. So now one more thing, like whenever we have something like let's say value 1 over there, 1 in this matrix, in this matrix, so we have 1, like let me just do this with some different pen. 1, 1, and yeah, we only have 2, 1 over there. So these ones, like these ones will be converted to 0. Like you can see 0 over there, 0 over there, right? I hope this approach is clear to all of you guys, like how we are mapping all the original value plus new value to like 0, 1, 2, 3. Now again we are just mapping this 2 comma 3 with the value 1, and when we found only 1 in the updated matrix, now then we'll convert this one to 0 value, right? I hope this thing is clear to all of you guys. Please, please try to do a drag and by yourself with this example so that this thing will be clear to all of you guys, right? So now let's try to code this thing up so that this will be clear to all of you guys. So initially we'll have rows which will be equal to, let me just copy this thing, board dot size, right? And we'll have columns equal to board of 0 dot size, right? So we'll directly fetch the number of rows and the number of columns. So what we need to do, we just need to run for loops, two nested for loops. Right? So this will help in calculating the number of neighbors, count neighbors, right? So now what we need to do after calculating the like number of neighbors, what we need to do, so this will return like if board of I j, right, is greater than equal to 1 and like this is for the live cell, right, and the value of count is equal to 2, or the value of count is equal to 3, then what we need to do, we just need to change the value to 3, right? Just need to map this thing to 3. Else if count is equal to 3, then board of I comma j will be equal to 2, right? I hope this thing is clear to all of you guys, right? So now like after mapping all the values of 3 and 2, now what we need to do, we just again need to run two loops less than house I plus plus. So now this time we are just converting all those values of 2 and 3 with 2, 0 and 1, like according to the condition, right? J less than holes j plus plus. So now we need to check if board of I j is found to be 1, then what we need to do, we just need to convert this to 0, right? Otherwise we need to convert this thing to, otherwise else if board of I j is greater than equal to 2, then what we need to do, we just need to do this thing, we need to convert this to 1, right? So now let me just write the code for the count the number of neighbors, right? This will be the function. So now what will accept, int int rows int columns, right? So now we'll directly make a variable over there to calculate the number of neighbors. So now we'll directly run our loop from r minus 1 and I less than r plus 2, then I plus plus, right? So then we'll run the loop, second loop, c minus 1 j less than c plus 2, right? So and j plus plus, right? So now if uh, I is equal to r, right? This is like the index of a particular cell, like r comma c, right? And and j is equal to c. This means equal to column or row I is less than 0, or row j is also less than 0, or row I is greater than equal to rows. And the fourth thing is, this is for the like overflow condition, right? This all are the for the overflow condition. Then at this point of time, what we need to do, we just need to continue, right? Otherwise, if we found like if we found board of I comma j is equal to wait a sec, is equal to 1, or of board of I comma j is equal to 3, right? Then we just need to increment the counter, right? And at the end of this, we just need to return the count. I guess we are good to go. Now let's try to run this code. Yeah, this runs perfectly fine. Now let's submit this. Yeah, this is accepted. Now let's discuss the space and time complexity for the same. So here we are. So this will be like calculating this in the time of big of one, like nearly big of one, you can say. And this loop will run big of m cos n. And this function is taking big of one, like nearly about big of one, you can say, like because we just need to run a loop for a like constant number of times, right? That's why it's nearly about big of one. So now the time complexity would be big of m cross n, and the space complexity is big of one, since we are not using any extra space, right? We are doing all of this thing in place, right? In place. I hope this approach is clear to all of guys. Again, I'm saying please do a drag and by yourself with the help of pen and paper, right? And this will be like clear to all of you guys, right? Thank you so much for viewing the video till the end. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any doubt. Thank you so much.